Howdy. That was like the most ingenuine fake howdy ever. I live in the South, but I'm not from the South. A lot of people have asked me, I forgot to mention this, but a lot of people have asked me what's the deal with all the Detroit stuff that I've been wearing. The Detroit Red Wings and Detroit Lions and an occasional Detroit Tiger stuff. I don't really support the Pistons. Detroit Pistons, they've sucked for a while. Anyway, well, not as long as the Lions have, but anyway. I'm originally from Southeast Michigan. I grew up in Livonia, which is a suburb of Detroit, kind of, sort of. It's a couple miles west of Detroit, close enough. And I always just say Detroit, though, because people who have absolutely no clue about Michigan cities or whatever, if I say Livonia, they're like, oh, okay, that's where? But if I say Detroit, okay, Detroit, they instantly know. So I always refer to it as Detroit, but technically speaking, I grew up in Livonia, so that's where all the Detroit sports stuff comes into play. And I think I'm going to actually add some Detroit stuff to here in the shop. It's kind of boring, add a little personal touch to it. It's just all obviously just woodworking junk, but I'd like to get some Detroit stuff on the wall. So you guys having a good week so far? I am. I've got a lot of business stuff I've got to take care of the next couple weeks or so. I'm trying to actually set my business up as an LLC here or all my online stuff up as an LLC, because right now I'm just doing all the business under my name, which is kind of scary. So I've got to get that straightened out. I do have a couple more projects in the works right now, actually. I've got, of course, the kitchen doors for the same people who got the bathroom vanities. I've got to redo all the kitchen doors, and that's just I'm saving that particular project for making the door video on. I could have made a video on how to make the doors, cabinet doors, in the vanity project, but I was kind of running out of time again, and blah blah blah. The vanities are gone. I'm so thankful for that, to get them out of the way. It ended up being a pretty fun project to work on, the vanities. I was kind of stressed out the first week, but I got burnt out, so I took a day off, and I guess that made the big difference, because the second half of that project went by pretty smooth, and it was actually a lot of fun. And speaking of the vanities, I don't want to talk much about them. I've talked about them for a little while, but a lot of people, rightfully so, have not really approved of the finish that I chose on the pine. I just used Early American Minwax stain and top coated it with lacquer. Didn't use any sanding sealer, didn't use any of that. I don't want to put a lot of time and effort into that, because the way I see sanding sealer is, every time I've used sanding sealer, I can never get the stain to go as dark as what I originally want it to. So it's kind of a trade-off. It will make it even, but I've never had as good of results with the color that I'm going for by using sanding sealer. And on top of that, you're adding more processes to it, and this is supposed to be a quick and easy, budget-friendly project. And it was more or less I wanted to get the process out there. I didn't want to get the actual finished project. I wasn't really trying to impress anybody with that. I just wanted to get the process out there. So as far as that goes, the process was a success, I guess. But the finish that I put on them, I'll admit it wasn't the best finish. But then again, when you're using cheap pine and cheap pine plywood, there really isn't a awesome finish other than paint. Paint will work really good with them. I've got a little fun idea for a small project. I want to do a couple small projects because the vanity project really just took up way too much time. I didn't really have enough time to focus on some other stuff that I needed to focus on as far as the business aspect of this goes. So I want to do a couple small ones, maybe get ahead of the game. That way I can take some time to work on some other stuff that I have in the works that I can't really say. Oh, what else is there to talk about? I feel like I'm just rambling with these videos, but I guess that's what a vlog video is. Oh. So do you guys remember this little on-off switch remote thingy that I use for my dust collector? It's rated at 15 amps. My dust collector is rated at 20 amps. And obviously the math doesn't work there. It's going to burn out, and I thought it did. The reason being that I thought it did was if you press the on or off button, there's a little red LED light that lights up, and no matter what I was doing, it was not turning on. Now, if the red LED works, then that tells me that the battery in this is good, right? Well, someone said, I don't want to be Captain Obvious, but if you try replacing the battery, well, it doesn't make sense to replace the battery if the light is working. Well, anyway, I replaced the battery. So I don't know. That's very strange. It still works. I thought it was dead. It was just the battery, but yet the bad battery still made the LED light work. I don't know. Lots of good feedback on these SketchUp videos. I'm going to keep doing that whenever possible, like I said. And I'm also going to make a SketchUp video on how I make my layout and cut list. Because, you know, I design all my projects in SketchUp first, then bring my actual designs out here to the shop. That way I know exactly what to cut. And let's see if I have it. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I make I don't know if this is going to show up, but I make a specific layout diagram, and one for the boards, one for the plywood. There we go. That way I know exactly what I need to cut from where, and I do that regardless of whether or not I'm going to make a project plan on it. Just it makes working here in the shop go so much smoother. You don't have to do a lot of calculations or whatever here in the shop that'll really slow you down. So I'm going to make a video on how I make those, and another video on why I do not recommend the SketchUp Cut List plugin. The Cut List plugin, in my opinion, provides false hope. It is not good, and I'll show you why it's not good. How much time do you guys actually spend at sharpening your chisels? I know there's a lot of, you know, Lee Nielsen and high-end products out there as far as actual chisels and plane blades, irons blades, whatever they're called. But you know, those may require a little bit more time because, you know, they are expensive and they are nicer tools and you want to keep them upright and blah, blah, blah. But for the vast majority of us out here, we just use cheap chisels, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I've got a little Stanley Walmart set of chisels, and then just a normal, what are they called? Footprint, I think is the brand. They're just some $10 chisel set off Amazon, and they do the job just fine for me. So if you're just using cheap chisels and don't want to spend a lot of time sharpening them, I'm going to do a little video on how I sharpen mine, as well as making a small little jig for the very inexpensive diamond plates that I use to sharpen my chisels. And you get to a point where it's just like, is it good enough? And if it is, then why go crazy with all the little jigs and fixtures and attachments that you can get for sharpening chisels? But I think those are more marketed towards more expensive tools, chisels, blades, plane irons. God, I can't talk today. Well, I got a new microphone for this camera, and I haven't tested it out yet, so this is kind of like a scary trial run to see how well it's going to perform. But I'm going to do a separate video on this microphone. I won't do it in a website article or anything, but a separate video on this microphone, comparing it to that lavalier microphone, that homemade lav mic that I always wear. I'm not wearing it right now, so this is my only hope, is this microphone. So that's pretty much it. I guess I've just got a chisel video coming up, a cabinet door video coming up, maybe a video on my planer setup, but definitely going to do an article on that from a website, and probably not going to do a video, but definitely going to do an article on my table saw. I don't like talking about tools, but its most commonly asked subject is tools, so I'm going to take advantage of the situation and just give in and make some articles and maybe some videos on that. And also, I have a new miter saw on the way, so I'm going to make a miter saw station, and I'm kind of wanting to make a miter saw combo pocket hole machine combo station thing. I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but I'm probably going to go on that back wall over there because it's going to be somewhat more stationary, and bring the bandsaw and drill press up here closer to the door where this miter saw table is that you've seen in the past couple videos. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and you guys have an awesome week.